What's up, party people? How's it going? I hope it's going pretty good. Anywho, I, Taleb Skelly Borgentilius, will be making an actual book review today. If you're new around here or just don't know, let me clue you into that one a little bit. So in the past, I've made very interesting reviews. All of those were made for an English class as a graded assignment. But the thing is, the teacher kind of never looked at the videos, so I was testing the limits of what I could get away with. And it was really funny, because I got an A+ for all of those videos. And now, in my new English class, I'm going to do an actual book review / analysis for two big ol' reasons. Firstly, I know that this teacher is going to see at least a portion of this video, so I kind of want to give an effort. And secondly, I love what we're going to be talking about. And we're going to be talking about... Handplates! Wow. Okay, enough wasting time. Let's hop right in. Let's start with a quick description. Handplates is a webcomic written and illustrated by Zarla-S on Tumblr. The webcomic resides on, well, Tumblr, obviously, but it also exists on DeviantArt and the official Handplates website. Zarla herself describes the comic as, quote,
a story about suffering. ... Mostly.
But what is Handplates actually about? Well, first and foremostly, it is an AU, standing for Alternate Universe of the hit indie game Undertale by Toby Fox. That's about as far as I can go before saying, spoilers for Undertale! I know that the game is, 10 years old now. But hey, maybe exactly one person out there hasn't played it and is watching this right now. And if you are that person, I beg of you, please go play it. It's an actual work of art. Let me tell you, there's a big reason why it's a hit indie game, the indie game. The plot focuses on the origin of two particular characters, Sans and Papyrus. In Undertale, their origin is actually unknown, unless you count some recent developments. But as some may know, there's a character that shows up exactly uno times in Undertale. This would be the mystery_man, or what we... This would be the mystery_man, or what we more commonly know as Dr. W.D. Gaster. Now, skip a few things and people were like, dude, what if Gaster was Sans and Papyrus' dad? That's basically Handplates. Except, well, Gaster creates the pair from parts of his hands and treats them like experiments, which they technically are, and, you get it. I mean, he's practically still their dad. That's how I was made, at least. But now I'm gonna get into my second spoiler warning, so... Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert, everybody! I highly suggest that you all go read Handplates literally right now. The characters, plot, art, correlations, and literally everything about it are so unbelievably good. It's very, very well done, and I know I can't do it justice with this review, so please read it. Okay, that's the spoiler warning over. Now we're gonna... spoil. I'm not going to be giving a synopsis or anything for this section. That's the next section. So I'm just going to be explaining the plot right here. Where do I begin? Oh yeah. The story begins with a few panels of Frisk, the player, ungloving Sans and Papyrus, and discovering that they have... The pair gets very defensive about their... and try to block this incident out of their memory. That Handplates title card bit is over now, by the way. I'm not going to do that anymore. 5 years after that strip was released on December 15th and 16th of 2019, 141 more strips were posted. This is where the main plot begins. We start off with everyone's favorite royal scientist, Wing Gaster, sawing two very important holes into his hands with the Lazo 2000? Creative name, Gaster. After this incident, WD decides to change up his look by not having a face. He talks to Alphys, who is concerned about his health and lack of face, so he runs off. Of course, he makes himself feel better by creating two new life forms with the two pieces of his hands that he cut off. The Skeleton brothers are now born, and soon enough they're way past born, being children now. Gaster teaches them language and basic knowledge of how things work. The pair of baby bones that he created automatically grow a close, almost inseparable bond with each other. Gaster is all like, wait, I think I'm being too nice, and decides to go all evil scientist on his creations. He proceeds to put... Stop! I said I was done with that bit. Sorry. He proceeds to put handplates on the experiments so he may always keep track of where they are if the need arises. The handplates are labeled as 1S and 2P, which is what they are called during the first third of the story. Anyways, Gaster begins losing all compassion and empathy for 1S and 2P, proceeding to ruthlessly experiment on them. 2P gets a big fat laser in the eye and is now blind. Later on inside their cell, 1S wakes up from a dream and sees taller and more fashionable versions of himself and his brother. 1S requests to keep this a secret from Wingding, Gaster, and 2P presumably agrees. More experiments are carried out, like hide and seek, radius bone shattering, and don't forget mind-blowing shock therapy. Gaster realizes that his favorite thing ever, a Rubik's Cube, is missing from his desk. He gives 2P a visit and discovers that he has it. Gaster takes away the awesome cube, and in response to having neither his brother nor the cube, 2P breaks down. Gaster gives the best puzzle ever back to 2P and questions his morality and what he is doing. 2P is brought in to heal 1S because Gaster is crippled in green magic. A little later, 2P gets absolutely rocked by Gaster and 1S is unable to fully heal him. 1S asks Wing Gaster why he sucks at literally everything, so the doc hands him a sheet of paper and asks him to rip it in half quickly. The paper pieces are unequal, exemplifying why the two Skelebros are so vastly different. 2P accidentally reveals that he's been seeing visions similar to 1S earlier, and WD isn't to Happa-E. The pair start getting visions of the genocide route, and 2P takes this as a sign that one day they will escape from this hellhole. 1S responds with two very important lines, quote, "I hope so. God, I hope so." That's important. So for the sake of time, I'm going to be describing the plot using bullet points as opposed to what I was writing earlier. If I continue to write things like I was a second ago, this video would be finished in probably a month. Sorry, I was drinking soda. Anywho, here we go. 2P establishes that he will never kill anyone no matter what. 1S makes a Gaster Blaster and attempts murder, but sucks at doing damage. The two learn blue magic. The two unlearn blue magic. A mouse guy complains about no guardrails in the core and wants to install some. Gaster calls that idea dumb and stupid. 1S pranks Gaster by nearly killing him. 2P saves Gaster's life because he can't stand by and watch someone die. 1S is super pissed at 2P for literally saving their torturer and they don't talk to each other. 1S later forgives 2P for his actions. Asgore and Alpha stage an intervention for Gaster to help him get better and fix his ugly face. Gaster, 1S, and 2P all cook spaghetti. Gaster contests morality and decision-making with a child. A massive goopy gunk creature attacks the three. Gaster has stopped hurting 1S and 2P. Gaster talks to Alphys and thanks her for everything. Alphys discovers 1S and 2P and wants to confront Gaster about them. Alphys takes them out of their cells and goes to see Asgore first. 1S finds Gaster and tackles him into the core. 2P saves 1S, but not Gaster because of blue magic trauma. Gaster is straight up erased across all time and space and nobody remembers him. The Skelebros lose pieces of their souls. Asgore adopts 1S and 2P. Alpha settles into being the new royal scientist and is now assumed to have made the things that Gaster did. 1S and 2P get the names Sans and Papyrus based off of their fonts/ciphers. We establish the personalities, quirks, and combat types of Sans and Papyrus further. Lots of foreshadowing and Gaster backstory is littered throughout this section. Sans and Papyrus settle into what used to be Gaster's house in Snowdon. Papyrus gets trained by Undyne. Sans becomes pals with Alphys. Flowey gets introduced and sucks, per the usual. Flowey tells Papyrus about Gaster's lab, and Paps brings Sans along with him to go investigate. The two find literally nothing except for mixed emotions about different areas. But wait, it's not nothing, and they get a key. The key opens the back of their home, where a giant machine lies. Flowey is a jerk. Alphys is about to kill herself, but then meets her future fish girlfriend. Sans investigates the machine in the back of his house and is led on a path that will soon shatter his entire reality. Sans shatters his entire reality, learning that this timeline is out of his control and there is a point in the timeline where he and his brother perish. Sans doesn't want to tell Papyrus this awful information and Papyrus gets really upset. This strains their relationship, and eventually, Sans cracks. Sans tells Papyrus about all of it, and admits that he's questioned even being alive. Call back to God, I hope so. Flowey is a jerk. The two try to adapt to what they've learned. Papyrus greatly improves his friendship/mentorship with Undyne. Papyrus becomes a sentry and makes Sans a sentry as well. Sans meets Toriel at the big ruins door. They crack puns and have real talk. Sans realizes that life has as much meaning as you give it, which Papyrus already understood long ago subconsciously. The Skelebros' outlook on reality has now vastly improved. Sans talks to Alphys about amalgams and if she should tell everyone about what happened or not. Flowey is a jerk. The webcomic goes monochromatic. Sans sees Frisk, who is being controlled by a player. Papyrus is killed, following up on his premonition from way back when. Sans is also killed, following up on his premonition from earlier as well. The world is reset, and Sans and Papyrus are ecstatic because they understand that the timeline has changed in some way since Papyrus is still alive. The player, now known to be named Radek, gets the pacifist ending. But Flowey implies that there is something more to be discovered with Sans and Papyrus. Called back to the first strip of the comic, Radek discovers all of the Gaster followers and eventually finds the Gaster door. They free Gaster, and Gaster finds Sans and Papyrus. Gaster is busy talking to himself, but then gives the brothers their memories back. The pair begin talking to Gaster directly outside of the Gaster room's borders. Undyne, Asgore, and Radek all go to the Gaster door, but are unable to find Sans or Papyrus. Sans and Papyrus talk to Gaster for a very long time. Gaster comes to terms with his reality of being nothing. The three talk back and forth about the experiments and reality. Gaster threatens the two, but they are stronger and no longer afraid of him. After an apology from WD himself, the doc gets sucked away by the big black goopster from a while back. Big Goopy Gunkus is revealed to be another version of Gaster. Sans and Papyrus save Gaster and bring him back to reality. The three settle in with each other and Gaster begins improving as a person. The barrier is shattered and everyone gets to leave the underground. Gaster makes new relationships with the people that forgot his existence. Sans has a heart-to-heart with Gaster on the way that things are and how they will be. Gaster and Radek speak to each other, discussing what this reality means. For Zarla, for the readers, and for the characters of Undertale, this is the best possible ending. The end. Would you believe me if I said I did that all in one go? Well, you shouldn't, because I'm lying. This story is just genuinely incredible. Some may even call it peak fiction. I'm just gonna throw things together that I loved about it because I'm not very good at formatting. So here we go. Firstly and foremostly is the environment. I could probably talk about the environment forever, but you know I won't, because time. The first background that holds major significance would be Gaster's laboratory. You see this? I love this. It's so unbelievably simplistic, and I absolutely adore it. It gives a grand feeling of claustrophobia, or like there's nowhere else to be other than here. Grand feeling of claustrophobia. Grand, like ginormous. It's a bit of an oxymoron, isn't it? It allows the reader to feel a sense of, this is where the story is meant to be, and it won't go anywhere else. These feelings also apply to the Skeleton Brothers. It makes them feel like they have nowhere else to be, and I find that very interesting. And don't tell me I'm looking too far into it and say, but Taleb, Skelly, Borg, and Tilius, the reason the environment is so simple is because Zarla wanted to put more focus on the characters and what they are saying and doing. Well, that's just a stupid thing to say because later we get environments like this, or that one, especially that one. And this brings me to my next point about the environment. Everything that isn't inside of Gaster's lab feels so open, colorful, new, and whimsical, and it's awesome. This contrast does so much for the webcomic. It makes it feel like a whole new adventure for Sans and Papyrus, who have only just recently escaped from their prison. Even the dull colors of New Home feel so unique and interesting compared to Gaster's lab. One last thing, when Radek first shows up, the visuals go monochromatic. That doesn't change until the very final panel when Radek, and in turn the reader and the audience and everybody, leaves. That is so cool, dude! Nextly and next mostly, the characters. I can't get over how well the characters are written in this story. It's not just, Gaster is a one-dimensional villain who wants to hurt Sans and Papyrus. Instead, he has reasons for what he does that are lightly touched on in the earlier parts of the story, and those reasons are developed further after he's been erased from existence. Let's talk about that really quickly. So Gaster's like cowering under some clothing as his family and friends are murdered by people. Humans. Toriel and Asgore find him and they take care of him. He respected them greatly for this and tried to make it up to them in any way possible. Asgore started killing children to break the barrier. Any Undertale fan out there knows this. But you know, lost his wife in the process because, I mean, normal people don't like killing kids. So on top of Asgore being shattered over his actions, his wife divorced him too. To prevent Asgore from going through any more like heartbreak over killing kids and, you know, losing his wife, Gaster decides to sacrifice parts of himself, the little handholds from earlier, to create vessels that can be used to destroy the barrier. He's creating life for sacrifice, but only so his friend doesn't have to go through any more grief. At no point does the story try to forgive or justify Gaster, because what he did is genuinely unforgivable. Instead, we get to understand how he, as a character, as a person, has gotten to this point. This is incredible character writing, Zarla. It's very well developed. Another example, Sans and Papyrus, boom! Let's take their first big argument, for example, right? Sans tries to kill Gaster so that he and Papyrus may finally escape. Papyrus, sticking to his morals and ideals, is all like, oh, you know, we can't hurt him, I'm gonna revive him, I'm gonna bring him back to life. And then, like, nobody's happy about this. Gaster and Sans are just, like, shocked and flabbergasted about it. So Papyrus earns no reward from this at all. In fact, he gets less than, because Gaster remarks and, like, criticizes him. He's like, you might get us all killed. So Sans stops talking to Papyrus as a big old result, and the impact is noted by Gaster. Like, Gaster doesn't even like what happened. Gaster states that, like, you know, the two can't function without each other, and it's practically insane what's happening. Eventually, the brothers make up with each other. Papyrus and Sans understand each other better from this and, you know, like, apologize to each other. Papyrus accepts that his brother would kill somebody, and Sans accepts that his brother will never kill anybody. The two understand and accept each other's differences, and the level of character development here is like, it happens like 3 different times throughout the freaking story. Each one's more impactful than the last, by the way. And it's like, Zarla! Oh my lord! Save some peak writing abilities for the rest of us. I want to write like this. The last and last mostly thing is actually really, really quick. Giving reasoning to Sans and Papyrus's weird abilities, like their freaky behavior and origin, is just so freaking cool, dude. My favorite example of this in the comic is whenever, like, Sans and Papyrus are playing around with bone. Sans is cool bone, and Papyrus isn't being harmed by it because, you know, he's never done anything wrong in his entire life. But Asgore taps it, and he starts, like, burning alive and getting all this, the sins crawling on his back. It's just so cool. And from what we're told visually, it's just Gaster's erasure took part of Sans and Papyrus's souls with him. So it just means that their souls are incomplete, allowing them to do unexplainable thing. That's so cool, dude. This video is already taking me forever to make, so don't forget I'm doing this for an assignment. I mean, don't get me wrong. I freaking love Handplates, like a lot. It's my favorite Undertale AU comic to ever exist, literally ever. A million times better than the Christmas party. And I have infinitely more things that I could say about it, like I have a ton. Proof of how much I care lies in the instructions for the assignment. Did you know that this video only had to be like around 5 minutes long? That was the minimum for this assignment. I could have just done that and then left. Yeah. As of recording this, I've added absolutely 0 visuals to the screen, and I'm about to finish recording everything. The assignment's due tomorrow, by the way. So yeah. I think I gotta wrap this up now. I think that this comic is incredible. I don't know if you could tell, but that's how I feel about it. Even though you've listened to the review, and I've told you a ton about this comic, I think that you should still read it. Absolutely. No questions asked. There's just so much about the plot, characters, symbolism, imagery, and more of that I didn't have any time to talk about here. So please read it. Pretty please. Hey everyone, this is an end card. I don't ever do this. So hi. I don't know if you could have guessed this, but I've been an Undertale fan since the faraway ages of 2016. That's a while ago. I was 8. But anywho, I was there for the AUs, and the fan games, and the comics, and the dubs, and the freaking weird, disgusting ships that are really, really gross and vile, and I can understand that now that I'm older. Like Frisk X Sans. Anywho, did you know that Undertale inspired my little mascot dude that I use all the time? I don't know if you could tell, he's a bone man, so... That's besides the point. I used to watch those comic dubs when I was like a child, right? I used to watch a million of those. However, the most important one to me was Handplates, and I always looked all over the internet for any semblance of an ending, because I never got one. I think the reason as to why is because it ended literally 2 years ago. So, yeah. But now that I finished reading it for myself, I thought it was absolutely incredible. It was the ending that I really hoped to see. So thanks for writing and illustrating that comic Zarla-S on Tumblr. Oh, excuse me. And thank you everybody for watching. Okay, bye-bye.